Welcome everybody to the Bon Voyage Hot List today. We are fortunate to welcome Ava D'Amato from Seabourn Cruise Lines today. Hi, Ava.
Hi guys, how are you?
So say your name to make sure I'm saying it right.
Well, Michael, I mean, I can do that, but I'm definitely going to prove you wrong. My D'Amato tended to, but you're just a smidget off there.
Okay, so Ava,
If I spelled it with the A, maybe, but we like Eva.
Eva,
I
Eva,
respond to both. I actually respond to both because
Eva.
I get it so frequently. So I am so well versed in Eva, Ava, Ava, Eva. That three-letter name, it can get confusing.
It could. I mean,
But
especially for
Eva
somebody
is
like me.
preferred.
Eva, okay. So welcome Eva D'Amato from Seabourn Cruise Lines.
Thank you, Michael. I'm happy to be here.
The hot list, if you don't already know, if you haven't seen one before, is a list of all of our upcoming trips that are generally hosted. One great thing, we, like many agencies, we charge fees for travel. And on our hot list, these are trips that we've already pre-planned. We've already done all the work, so we don't charge any additional planning fee for those. The price you see is the total price. We'll feature guests such as Seabourn that we have trips on this list. And we have two really cool trips coming up in 2024 and 2025. And we're going to talk about that in a little while. But first, I mean, I guess people that watch us a lot, they'll know, other than I've been on a Seabourn Quest on a ship tour, hosting a ship tour actually. But it's one of those few I haven't sailed on. So you're gonna have to do the heavy lifting here, Eva.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm so excited. First of all, to travel with your travel advisors. I mean, it's like you get so much knowledge from your travel advisors from the get-go, from the moment that they start looking into trips and itineraries and things for you. So to be able to have that while you're traveling and carry that through on the entire journey, it's just like having that secondhand man or woman with you to make sure you don't miss a beat. So it is extremely helpful. I have many friends in the industry and I always have to ask them for kind of knowledge or tips or things. And I have been able to travel with some, and then it's just so perfect because I mindlessly don't have to think about anything and they take care of everything for me. So as you brought everyone on the ship tour and made sure that all their questions were answered and you got to experience the ship in kind of a couple of hours in a day. That experience that you had told me went very well and everyone really enjoyed, that experience only continues for the entire length of the journey that you're on. You get to see that team, you get to have that family. Quest is our last ship that was built in our first class of ships. So
Okay.
Quest holds 458 guests. She is in what's called the Odyssey class. So we have Odyssey, Sojourn, and Quest. And my parents were actually just on Quest through Panama Canal. So they went round trip Miami, 14 days through the Panama Canal, saw the lakes and the levees and everything. And it was an extremely phenomenal experience. They are big
Wow.
cruisers. However, they had never been on a small ship cruise. So it forever changed their opinion on cruising. And I hate to say it because they're my parents, but I definitely said, told you so.
But you're so right. You're so right. People just put cruising just in one bucket, and that is not what it is. There's cruises for all kinds of people. There's the big mass market lines, and if you got a bunch of small kids, they might be great, but don't let that be your only idea of what cruising is, because a more intimate experience, a more luxurious experience on small cruise lines is one of my favorite things to do that there is. And so from what I saw of Seabourn when we were on board, this is more, even probably better.
I absolutely would tend to think so myself. Yeah, I think that cruising can absolutely grow with you. Like you mentioned, like families on big ships, mass market or premium brands. And then moving into something more intimate for couples or solo travelers or even multi-gen travelers a little later on in life is such a great thought process to have. Like this one box fits all cruising is not necessarily how it is or needs to be. Like you can graduate your cruising and certainly come to a luxury line. And really for those, I like to say that are true travelers, a small ship cruise line really should be the way you think about it. It's a luxury boutique property, only it brings you to your destinations versus you having to navigate through all those different destinations. So there's absolutely nothing that's different about it. In addition, what I love about luxury boutique properties is, their architecture, their food, how they're located in the center of cities. And they're not overwhelming. They're not, big, massive hotels either, because we have those on the ground. They're really small and they're really intimate. And that's one of the things I like about it. And you get to know some of the team members and the staff, but this takes that further. So by the time you're leaving the ship, you're walking away with, our crew that feels like your best friend or your family. And guests actually sometimes take voyages for the crew and for the team that they know
Wow.
is on them, they've kept in touch with. So that's sort of a Seabourn recipe. So being that we are a small ship, that is one of our differentiators, is our crew. And we have many great examples of why that is. And I'm sure we'll talk about it. But that is what is very different about the cruising world. It is like a true family. You're there with us, no less than 7 days to start.
You know, even the short time I was on board, the Quest, the crew already sticks out, and I believe Joe was his name, who's that guided us to the ship tour and everything. And he, what a phenomenal human being. I mean, and so I can already agree with you about your crew. I mean, that's something that always stands out. It is what people remember. It's that interpersonal, intimate service. They remember your name and what you want. And then when you arrive at the destinations, you're not changing the makeup of the destination by bringing 5,000, of your fellow travelers. You're just squeezing in there with a couple of hundred, and you get to experience the destination as it should be.
It's true. And I like to think of kind of a luxury service as, yes, knowing the names, and yes, knowing the personalization and being able to personalize and curate, but really being a true, luxury caretaker of hospitality, if you will, no matter where you are or what you're doing in the world. You have an anticipatory service and you have kind of a love for travel and where you are. So I think that all bleeds through perfectly when you look at our ships. And I'm glad you took back Joe, because that's exactly what happens. We have so many team members, and we have Seabourn sailors as well. So if you ever do cruise with Seabourn, which I certainly hope you do, you can be a part of the Seabourn sailors Facebook page. And I mean, everyone is posting their pictures with our team members. And then you'll see like tons of comments about, oh yeah, we absolutely miss her or him. And here's our picture. And I just, not to bore you, but we have net promoter scores. Of course, we, always are wanting to know what our guests like, what our guests needs, revamping. And without fail, our highest net promoter scores are always with our crew and always with our team. So it's kind of our mentality. It's kind of our mindset. The team is extremely empowered, and we can't really talk about them enough. Because even the moment I get on the ship, I'm like, I just love it. I love how happy I feel.
Well, based on that one, and we're going to talk about our two trips in a little while, but we're adding on land, and there was really only one company I could think of to match land with Seabourn, and that is Four Seasons, which is also known, very much for their hospitality and how to treat, how the people that work there are empowered to make decisions to make sure the guests are taken care of. And that's what I witnessed, when I was on the Quest earlier,
Yeah.
last year.
You're very right. The Four Seasons is an extremely progressive hospitality brand, to the point that we have a Four Seasons here where I live in South Florida, and they had the first Labradoodle join the team. join the staff. Someone who's a emotional kind of support labradoodle that would just walk the halls and go to the pool and beach area and stop into the spa. And I mean, come on, you can't
That's
get much
great.
better than
That
that.
is great.
Only we could have a labradoodle at sea. I'll put that in.
So, in general, or what any new features or dining or ports of call or anything like that, just in general for Seabourn?
Yeah, yeah. So absolutely. So Seabourn is, of course, extremely excited now that we are sailing our two expedition brands, or I should say, our two expedition ships. So we have Venture and Pursuit, and we'll certainly talk a little bit about Pursuit as that is one of the ships doing one of the itineraries that we're focused on. But we're excited to have them sailing. So we started having Pursuit sail in 2023 and then Venture sail in 2024. So that is still kind of like our biggest, most exciting uh add-ons. However, we have changed a couple of things on board and certainly all for the best. We will be sunsetting our partnership with Thomas Keller. Thomas
Okay.
Keller is a Michelin starred chef. We have had a partnership with him for an extremely long time. I think a little over 10 years. And we decided that again, two of the things that we hear from our guests that they love the most in our culinary is our restaurant called Sushi and our restaurant called Earth and Ocean. Those two restaurants are done by our own in-house chef, our executive chef. So his name is Tony Yeager. He has a really great, amazing path as he studied with multiple Michelin starred chefs in different places of the world. So taking in quite a few different culinary concepts, and then finding himself on Seabourn, being able to bring those kind of in a locally inspired way on board to us. So we have now sunsetted that Thomas Keller partnership, and we are excited to announce that he's opening up his own restaurant. So it's kind of going to be just curated completely by him.
I love
And
it.
that is called Solis. And that's going to be a Greek restaurant in our Thomas
Ooh.
Keller, where our Thomas Keller took place. So it'll be revamped, kind of restyled, and we'll have a completely different menu.
When do you expect that to like take place?
So we will have that starting out in April. And then it'll go from ship to ship.
Okay.
Um, Additionally, another really great improvement that we have made is that we now have Starlink on
Ooh,
all of our ships except for our first class. I think we are just waiting to put it on some of our first class ships, but we are almost done adding that Starlink as well.
that makes so much difference. I mean, you can be in Antarctica and have a decent connection. That's for people that are
So
working or they want to update their Facebook or FaceTime their kids. I mean, it makes it possible, right?
it's true. And we had our senior vice president, he was in Antarctica and he took our Zoom calls and our meetings.
Oh wow.
So as well as his own. So as team calls, we were able to see it working perfectly. Which is different. We
That's
are
impressive.
we're moving forward in the world for sure here.
We can't hide though anymore. I'm like, sorry, I'll be in Antarctica. Yep, you can still make the meeting,
Right,
right?
exactly. Exactly. You're on the hook for everything still. As many penguins as you want to see, you're still on the hook.
So do you want to share your screen? Is there anything you can show us that we were talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, let's take a look. We'll do kind of a little bit of a brief overview. I know I mentioned a lot about our crew, but I want to tell you a fun story.
Okay.
Maybe two, maybe I'll sneak two in there. And then just a little bit more about everything that you get on Seabourn. And then we'll talk a little bit about the actual places that you're going to.
Yeah,
And
so after you
some
do that,
of
I'll share my screen just for a minute to show everybody how to find these trips. And then
perfect.
you'll tell us about the sailing side and I'll tell you about the land side of these trips.
Perfect. Now let me see. You're looking at a blue screen, right?
I am.
Okay, perfect. Let me just get that going there. So you should see everything now.
Yes, you got the surfboard caviar out there in the surf, right?
Excellent. Yeah. So, I mean, this is Seabourn. This is Seabourn in a complete nutshell, if you will. We are a social ship. We are very personal. And that, as I mentioned a little earlier, is our differentiator. You can't really leave a Seabourn ship without feeling like you're leaving some of your family behind. And that all comes from the top down. It all comes from feeling empowered, really wanting to make a change and make an impact in our guests' voyage with us. So for us, it goes further than that, one-to-one A to B sort of touch point. It goes much further than having that impeccable service. We certainly do, but we just sort of do it in a different way that we really enjoy. That kind of makes us Seabourn. But you'll see here those 3 classes of ship. So you have that Odyssey class. So that is holding 458 guests, and that's where Quest is. She's the newest of that class. There have been soft renovations as well to all of those ships. So that happened around 2016. Note to self, note to anybody who may be traveling with you, maybe travels on their own. Seabourn Odyssey will be retiring. So late August will be her last trip with us. And she does a lot of that Alaska season. So she is very big for being in Alaska. So anytime, any guests that wanna join us for her last Alaska season, she will be retiring, and it's gonna be her legacy cruising. So we know we have a lot of guests that wanna go and see her before we retire her. So that's just a fun note for those cruisers out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and then I just went to Alaska, and what we do in Alaska is really cool. It's a little bit different. So of course we go to Alaska and we do the shore excursions, as do most cruise lines. But we also do almost a soft expedition cruising. So you are doing Zodiac tours, you're doing kind of kayaks, you're doing hikes. So we do what's called Ventures by Seabourn. And this is the program that we had prior to adding our 2 new expedition ships. So that takes place when we're out there in Alaska. So it just gets you a little bit closer and really kind of gives you that feeling of going out, getting your hands dirty in the nature, more than just ship to shore event.
I like it.
It is a lot of fun. And then we got a little bit bigger. Encore and Ovation, they really just have additional deck space and an additional sushi restaurant. It's only 600 guests, so not a huge difference from our first ship. And then of course our Seabourn Venture and Pursuit, which we're super excited about. These are the purpose-built expedition ships. So you'll be able to notice them, of course, because they are in the Porsche green color versus the classical cruise ship, that classical white color. And they hold 264 guests. So certainly small enough to get into all these destinations and go further into these destinations when you're talking about where we go, which I can give a little overview. Everything is included with Seabourn, so it's a seamless experience. The shore excursions are not included, but these will really start out at anywhere between 80 to upwards. You'll notice with competitors, there's a little bit of a price difference, but we kind of do that so that way our guests can go ahead and take their own shore excursions. It creates a little bit of a smaller group environment. And then guests just really enjoy it because they'll take something that really is interesting to them versus taking what's available to them.
Right.
So complimentary Wi-Fi, any signature events that we do are also complimentary. So we have Marina Day when you're looking at Greece. We have Caviar in the Surf when you're looking at the Caribbean. I know these are not our sailings here, but just food for thought. I know you want to get to the Caribbean and do Caviar in the Surf and have champagne and caviar served to you from that surfboard that you saw in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And then everything's a suite on Seabourn. So everything is a suite, and 90% of them are with a veranda. So the only suites that do not have a veranda are oceanfront suites on that first class, on that Odyssey class. So yes, on Quest. So if you do want a veranda, just make sure you go ahead and book that additional veranda suite. But everything is oceanfront, nothing interior. And you'll see that separate living room and bedroom area. So when you're going for the 10, 14 days, you have that time to spread out and have your own personal space, maybe some eye time, as we like to call it in our family. Just shut the curtain or shut the door and have your own little eye time. And then culinary. So we have our menus each day changing in all of our restaurants. You have anywhere between 5 to 6 dining venues, and then 8 to 9 lounge venues throughout the ship. So every night you'll see something and have something different to experience for dinner. And that's really our take on not only the local culture where we are, but it's just with 5 different dining venues. Many say, oh, well, is there, am I going to be eating the same thing? We're on a cruise. And absolutely not. We have to make it like some of the big ships, right? With their 10 and 11 and 13 restaurants. You feel like you're constantly trying something new and trying something exciting. You cannot get off a Seabourn ship without some caviar and champagne. I like to it runs on tap. So pro tip, you just enjoy caviar and champagne. It can be brought to you wherever you are, and it's fully complimentary. So you just kick back, relax, and really make yourself feel like you were on that luxury line. We talked about the signature events and that caviar in the surf and Marina Day, which that is going to be for your next sailings that you book with Seabourn. But we talked about how cool the staff is, and many, many, many lines can say they have a great team on board. And it's true. I mean, the team members that are out here, they know the clients. For the luxury cruise clients, they really deserve the finest and they expect the finest. But we do back it up, and I like to back it up by offering a little bit of a story. So our newest marketing campaign was actually called This Is Your Moment. It's the This Is Your Moment marketing campaign. And we curated this because this was already being cultivated on the ship. So we would talk to our guests or talk to our advisors, and they would say, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened. And oh, I had my Seabourn moment. And we're over here on the shore side, like, oh, Seabourn moment. That's a great way to coin it. That's a phenomenal way to really encompass every way that the team goes about creating those extremely special moments. So my personal special moment was when I was on my honeymoon cruise. I had just gotten off Venture. We had a sales team meeting on it. We were touring it. And we had a dinner, and the butter chicken, which is an Indian dish, if you're not familiar, that was served on Venture, was phenomenal. It was really one of my favorites I've ever tried. And that's going throughout the whole world. There was just something extremely great about it. Chicken was super tender, excellent. And I got to sojourn, which is the ship that we took our honeymoon on for 14 days through the Mediterranean. Nice. And I spoke to the team about the butter chicken. And they said, oh, okay, yeah. I was like, oh, I just can't wait. Hopefully you have it on your menu while we're on board. And, I kind of thought it was the same time of the year. It was only a couple of days after. Like, I thought maybe the menus kind of had somewhat of a rotation, which, truth be told, they did not. So just extra exciting as to how many meals and how many dishes we curate. But nearly 14 days went by, and I said, wow, I'm so surprised you didn't have the butter chicken. It was so good on the ship. And our waiter, Yogi, who we had sat with many times in the restaurant, which is our main dining room, he said, you know what, guys, sit with me on the last night, come to the restaurant, spend your last night with me. I have a surprise for you. So we said, okay, absolutely. I mean, we'd dine with him in a tender boat if we could. We just loved him. One of those team members we wanted to take home with us. So we went to the restaurant, we dined, and he said, okay, don't order a lot of food because I have something special for you. So we ordered just a few appetizers. And lo and behold, Yogi brought a full spread of butter chicken that was not on the restaurant menu, was not on any of the menus.
Wow.
But he about it, and the chef said, you know what, he turned it not only into a special Seabourn moment for us, but almost a little competition between the crews on each of the ships. And he said, we can make a better butter chicken than them. And sure enough, they brought the whole spread. So it was just such a spectacular experience. Something that I certainly will never forget. My husband will never forget. And we hear the most touching stories, but just, another quick one, right, Rennie? So I was just talking to a travel advisor a couple weeks ago while I was at an event. And he said, I love Seabourn. I'm so passionate about what you all do on board. It's so unique, and you just listen and you really make things happen. So his wife was I think she was kind of like a elementary school teacher of some grade. And she was teaching the kids the annual calendar. And for part of the lesson, she would teach them to find their half birthday. So they know, like 6 months through, it was the halfway through the year. So she was teaching them how to find their half birthday. And her and her husband had went on a Seabourn cruise, our travel advisor. And she told the team, just in passing, just as a funny story, oh, well, I'm teaching my kids in my class the calendar, and it's your half birthday is at halfway through the year. And she said, I happen to be taking this cruise on my half birthday. So the team laughed, and they thought, she thought nothing of it. And later that evening, they baked her half of a birthday cake, and they came out and they sang of happy birthday.
Oh.
So I mean, you can't really replicate it, you can't recreate it, and I don't know if you're gonna have it anywhere else other than Seabourn.
That is a great story.
Yeah, it's really, really cute, and we just love them. And that honestly, the destinations we go to, the places we get to see, the experiences we bring are phenomenal, and they are so important. But that is I think our biggest differentiator. But we are now talking about our Seabourn expedition. So what is really great about the two tours that you have set up, the 2024 and the 2025, is they give you two different outlooks of what Seabourn has to bring you. So you are on our ocean ship Quest for the 2024, and then you are doing the Kimberley on Pursuit in 2025. So that really is awesome, because it offers you those two completely separate experiences, both perfect for what Seabourn has to offer. But our expedition ships, we, as I mentioned, have two. They go, we have Venture that does kind of the cold water region. So she's doing the Arctic, Antarctica, and then she's doing the South Pacific, and the Kimberley, and then the Amazon, which is Pursuit. So she's doing the warm weather locations, the South Pacific, Kimberley, and Amazon. But we've been doing expedition cruising with Quest for 13 years now, down to Antarctica. We do the Zodiac tours, the hiking, scuba diving, kayaking. We have two 6-seater submersibles on board that we can take out with our guests. So really creating a different experience. I know you and I were talking, and it was a little bit more like, thinking of an expedition cruise is kind of like thinking of going on a safari or going to Africa. You're really kind of on the go. You're going out in your groups each day. So you have a landing during the first part of the day, and then later on in the afternoon or late afternoon. So you're kind of constantly on the move to go see these locations, these destinations. And then, of course, the nature, the wildlife, that's all happening and taking place out here that you really don't get to see in other parts of the world.
No. And, I think you should add to that if you feel like overwhelmed, or you're on an expedition or even on a safari, you don't have to go on every game drive. You don't have to go on every Zodiac landing. If you don't feel like it, enjoy the ship,
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. We like to say that this is active luxury, right? This is to be enjoyed the way you wish to enjoy it. And we are just providing everything that you need. It's your decision if you want to take every landing, but if you want to go to the spa during one of your landings, you get to do that. There is not not something tying you to everything. We absolutely understand our guests do want that luxury experience. Some guests, believe it or not, are so excited about our new ships that, speaking of that kind of active side of it, they are not even doing many landings. They are actually just sailing with us so they can sail on our brand new ships because, I mean, you can see here, they are quite beautiful, all designed by
Mm.
Adam Tahani. Very gorgeous colors, very modern, simple, almost in a way really bounce off the areas that these ships go to. But this is what they want to see. They want to try the food, they want to be with the team, they want to experience the new smaller ships. So some of them have actually done even less of the landings, if you will. So completely whatever you're there for, it takes precedence for you. But with every Seabourn ship, the greatest thing is that all of our ships are designed to be almost identical. So whether you go on Quest or you go on Encore or you go on Venture Pursuit, most of our restaurants, you know, social areas, our Grand Salon, they're all the same and they're all located in the same areas of the ship. So we sometimes call them different names on our expedition ships, but what guests truly love is that the minute they get on a Seabourn ship, they're truly coming home. So they don't have to go and figure out what restaurant they want to eat at and figure out what's new or different than the last cruise that they took with us. They just start to enjoy the destination, start to talk to our guests, and, kind of have almost a layout of what they want to do already. So we always think that it only entices guests to make more meaningful connections. They spend more of that time getting to know other people who actually it's been really phenomenal because a lot of the guests that meet each other are so like-minded that they end up traveling again together and you can rebook the trip right on board and everything goes back to your team, Michael. So it's super easy and so great for the guests, but they just have these experiences and then they get so excited and they want to go to a new place. So this gives them the opportunity to make more meaningful connections and really have a much more seamless experience once they get on board because they already know what it looks like. They already know what they're kind of there for. So being that I just said all of that, the one suite that is different in the expedition ships that we're excited about is our panoramic suite. So this you can see has that bump out, 180-degree bump out, and heated floors in the bathrooms. So this, as much as our ships are very seamless and have a flow throughout the entire fleet, this suite is actually very different and is extremely sought after. So we're excited to introduce it on the ship. It's just so pretty too, the picture. I can kind of paint a picture with words, but it's always a little bit nicer to see it. We do have 24 expedition team members on board. So when you go to the Kimberley and you are in these remote areas, these expedition team leaders are all familiar. They're the ornologists, the topologists, the geologists. So they are telling our guests about everything and anything that they can experience along the way. I mean, biologists, we have glaciologist on the ship. So it goes without saying that we are well prepared. And like I said, had been doing this for 10 years, that we really gathered what we needed to make it an incredible experience for our guests. So you're really taking that rugged expedition experience and you're combining it with the active luxury. And you're not missing a beat.
And a lot of
So
times these will be also coming back in and giving lectures so you really understand that much more about the destination, which I love.
I love it. And we do that as well on our ocean ships too. We kind of give a brief about all those destinations that we're going to. And what I actually find to be so exciting and very cool is that not only are we telling you about the destination, so you know the history and kind of geopolitical structures, things like that, we also tell you how to shop. What is like popular to do there? What's popular to eat there, to see? And then make sure, you're going to the right shopping locations and you're not buying something that you really don't want to be buying and things like that to make sure we're sourcing and empowering the economies that we go to. We were actually the first to be partnered, first small ship cruise line to be partnered with UNESCO World Heritage Site. So we make sure that that tourism impact that we're making, because we're going to such small places, is happening.
That's great. It's all about sustainability.
It is. It truly is. Smart travel. But let me see here. I do have a lovely video to highlight the Kimberley, which is one of those trips you'll be doing. I'm so jealous. And let's see if it let's see if we can play it and hear it.
That moment when you travel through time to a sacred land, to reach out and touch the past, to connect with the wild and free, where life expands with ancient stories and unexpected discoveries in every direction. Led by an expedition team on an ultra-luxury safari at sea. This is your moment.
That itinerary that you will be enjoying in the Kimberley in Southeast Asia. And this is, I believe this is your 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. 2025.
Yeah. And so we're just so excited. That'll be the second season for us in the Kimberley, and this is the perfect way to see it. You're going to be there doing this. You have the room, so it boasts all these architectural landscapes. It has a very diverse history because it's very geological oriented, but has grown really with the time. So you have kind of that blend of colonial buildings and old mission houses, churches, and this tiny little town that really developed from not too much, is just kind of the home for kind of the pearling masters, because this area, I don't know if you're aware, but this area is huge for sea pearls. So a lot too is kind of, you know, looking out for them and watching out for them and like just learning about really this kind of the biggest area left that produces the sea pearls. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really fun. So that's really where you start out. You know, your highlights include the Lissipity Islands. Try and say it fast. So the cool part about those, yeah, right, or maybe don't. So this is where all the birds are. So
I'm still working with 3-letter words like Eva. Okay.
You're right. I won't up to you too much. Sorry about that. We're going way ahead of ourselves. But this area is really great because this is really where the expedition team is going to come into play. So this is a bird watcher's paradise. You have the home of the world's largest colony of brown boobies, which is about 18,000 of them that are there. So breeding. So I know, I think it's the Galapagos, the blue-footed are, but you have the brown over here. So, and our team's going to be able to like take you through all this and explain it and tell you about it, because we have those expedition team members that are absolutely fully immersed in this all the time. And like I said, this is going to be, I mean, they've been going out there for a number of years researching it and finding the best landing areas for us, but they'll be there to kind of, this will be their third season there, so they'll be there to kind of show the guests around. We have a beautiful bow lounge, which is just located under the captain's deck. It is filled with TV screens that show exactly what the captain is seeing and exactly what the captain is looking at, and then the team is walking around throughout this location. So our guests can get a cocktail and lounge around, and the team is going to be telling them information like this while they're enjoying their cocktail. The team not likely enjoying the cocktail, but certainly our guests. So then you're gonna move up. You have Talbot Bay there. So that's kind of where some of the first ancient rock formations were found. So that is just awaiting more and more exploration. So we have to remember, again, to our point, Safari has been done. A lot of our guests have done the safari, but now where we're taking them is places that are so, new and not really charted yet. So they're finding new things in these locations every day. So we get to take our guests there and enjoy these natural wonders. The entire coast of the Kimberley is the last western frontier. So offering everything to its landscape, waterfalls, rock formations, deserts, rainforests. It just is kind of packed with everything and the wildlife. So guests get to keep exploring it and really see these areas that they're going to.
Yeah, for me, we've been to 90 countries in all 7 continents more than once. And sometimes you feel like, wow, I guess I've seen it all. No way. I've never been to this part of Australia, never been to the Kimberley, and I'm very excited about, this new frontier, really.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you. And my hope is to certainly go there one day, because this is just so exciting and huge for us to be able to be doing. Another highlight here, as we kind of travel up to Darwin, is Curie Bay. That is going to be a lot of Zodiac rides that our team will take you on. So the bay is absolutely beautiful blue water. It's actually known to be one of the richest locations with the pearls as well. So that's kind of going to be a really great talking point and a really great knowledge for that area. But you'll be doing a lot of those Zodiac tours. And then what's really cool and what we keep capturing here and learning more about is that those crystal clear waters that you'll be Zodiacing over, you can constantly see there's it's called the 20 nurse shark, and you can constantly see them underneath your Zodiacs. So we have a couple of really cool pictures that we've been able to capture from our season there, where our guests are on the Zodiac and the nurse sharks are just kind of swimming around the Zodiac, and it's really, really something spectacular. You got tigers and lions or sharks. Take your pick. Saltwater crocs and sharks.
Don't fall out of the Zodiac.
No falling out of the Zodiac will be had. These are nice and tough. But hey, again, to your point, if you are scared of the sharks, you don't have to do that landing if you don't want to.
Right.
And then as we go up, really the biggest highlight, what everyone wants to see on an itinerary like this is the King George River. These are where the King George Falls are located. So you saw it in that video. Depending on weather conditions, we will pull the Zodiac into as close as we can get, and try and get the refreshing mist from the waterfalls, and just get to see them as close up as we can, because they're absolutely beautiful. So, and then you'll head over to Darwin, and I think that you'll have the land tour on for your post here.
Yeah, I will. When I switch over to my screen, I'll go over the land portion. So we'll come back to that.
Perfect. Well, let me go back to the 14-day here that you have. I probably would have just helped if I put we wouldn't have been so confused. But no, we have our 14-day. This is really going to take you through the Atlantic, right? So kind of that northeastern corridor, northeastern coast. And it's during the perfect time of the season, because you know what? I originally was born and raised in New York. I'm from Long Island, that little tiny island right coming off of that dot there that you stop at in New York. But I'm a cold weather kind of girl. So I moved to South Florida and I loved it down here. But there is one time of the year that I miss, and this is surely it. It is absolutely enjoying the fall foliage. And really just that colonial feel that the Northeast has. And during that time of the year when you're warming up for the holidays, it's just absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. But some highlights here, of course, you have Quebec City. So this has been named and is usually kind of always on the top of the list when you see it, but it's been named one of the most beautiful cities, or the most beautiful city in North America. So that is absolutely beautiful to see because it's perched so high. And when our guests and when we're sailing through that St. Lawrence River, you're looking at the citadel, you're looking at those big fortresses. So you just see the depth from the water, from the river, and onto the fortress. So it kind of has that picturesque, iconic look. It's definitely probably one of the things I'm certainly most excited for. You have a couple of different shore excursions that you can take. You can enjoy lunch, you can enjoy a walking tour. We also have a train to Bay, which is where the Cirque du Soleil, I can never say that show correctly.
Cirque du Soleil. Cirque du Soleil.
Yes, thank you. Oh, look, you got that.
I got that one right.
So that's an awesome opportunity to kind of go see and go explore that area. You're going to have the scenic cruising throughout about a day or so throughout that itinerary. So you're really just going to go through the rivers and you're going to see all that foliage and you'll have that crisp air and it'll just be such a nice experience, hopefully with, maybe a whiskey sour or a glass of Prosecco, whichever your heart desires, but really enjoying that from, you're basically your own personal yacht.
Yeah. And it really is. I mean, this first part of the cruise, it is an itinerary and the time of year for a fall foliage cruise. It's just that we continue on down the seaboard, the eastern seaboard.
Exactly. You're still very plentiful with it. And then of course, kind of coming into the Halifax area, known as kind of the city of trees. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, crowned by the fortress of Citadel Hill. Another iconic picture and another National Historic Site too. So not a UNESCO, but certainly a National Historic Site. You have a couple UNESCOs throughout this itinerary. And then they have that iconic clock that overlooks the downtown area. So there is a fun fact over here. One of the shore excursions that we have that certainly interests some is that we can take 21 passengers of the Titanic. So you'll walk the grounds and then the guide kind of brings that tale and, the Titanic to real life. And you can see some of the sites. And then of course the cemetery is quite beautiful. So it's been known to be one of the experiences that guests have liked on this trip.
Halifax is a great town and it's a great place to visit. I mean, there's tons of reasons, really.
Yeah, tons of history, of course. And then you'll continue down and you'll warm yourself up by stopping in your hometown, and then headed down to close to me. Okay. So you head down to your hometown and then over to me, and then maybe we can all do something after.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Now let me see if I can share my screen and then we'll go over the land aspects. I won't go over the cruise details again. Obviously, you did a great job doing that. And let's see here. I'm going to show you how to go to this hot list. So you just type in tripswithme.com and it will pull up the Bon Voyage Hot List and you can scroll through there and very soon you'll see they're in chronological order. So this is the cruise you just went over, the fall foliage. And also, if you keep going down, you'll get to 2025 and you will see our expedition to the Kimberley, which is the cruise you did first for us. And then when you find any one of them you like, you just step inside this journey. And then there you are. You will see the exact same graphic of our itinerary that Eva just showed you. And this is going to be, for us, will be a 16-night trip starting on October 16th. And we'll fly up to Montreal and we'll be staying at the Four Seasons Montreal for 2 nights, which I think we mentioned is what a great fit for Seabourn and like-minded folks. And that type of service and where you feel part of the experience, really. And then we'll have some tours of the town. We'll have a welcome dinner. We'll have all of our transfers included, of course, to the ship on the 18th. And when we do get to Charleston, it is kind of funny. We live in Murrells Inlet, most of us, which is about an hour and a half north of Charleston. It doesn't have its own little dot, unfortunately. But when we went to our ship inspection of the Quest, which is the same ship, it was on this exact itinerary, and it was stopped in Charleston, which is why we were able to visit it, being so close by. So fun fact. So of course, you may be familiar with Charleston, but as you know, it's always a beautiful place to visit. Even us living in, an hour and a half away, we, like Kelly and I, love to spend time in Charleston. It is a beautiful city. And then we'll end in Miami. And I guess we'll go head up Eva for, drinks or whatever you're going to do at the end. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly right. I'm not really sure what this itinerary is better for, seeing our stomping grounds or
Yeah, exactly. It's like we call it the hometown trip.
Yeah.
And that's it. You scroll down here further, we got some videos for you about Seabourn and some pictures about the places you're going to visit, more detailed. It's got pricing just for an entry level, but we have every level of suite that is available. And then you can sign up just by completing the click here, and you'll be able to sign up for the trip and place your deposit, and you'll be going on an Outlander trip.
Yeah.
And both of these are Outlander trips, I should say. And that means, let me just pull that up. So an Outlander trip means it's a travel club, and you have to have somebody stand for you that's a member. We're about 300 members right now. But I'm one of them. So we meet, we talk, I could stand for you, but I just have to believe and know that you can follow the 2 rules, which are no grumpy travelers and no discussion of politics while we're on holiday. So that's it. I mean, that is
Those are
it.
fair.
And then you're in, and then you can stand for other people. But that's outlandersociety.com, which is a wonderful trip. And while we're on here, we'll just back to our trips with me, and we'll go down to the Kimberley. And here we've got a little bit more land. So this is the cruise itinerary that you're looking at here, but we're going to make it in addition to the 10-night cruise, a 13-night trip overall, which will be 2 nights at the Four Seasons Sydney. Again, a great hotel property and great location for walking around that part of Sydney. We'll do a welcome dinner there. Of course, our welcome dinners are all inclusive with, wine, beer, and liquor, whatever you like. They're always at iconic, very highly rated restaurants based on our chef Kelly choosing them. And then we will have flights you got to fly all the way across Australia. So it's not a short flight, but we're including round trip business class flights to the West Coast and back. And so post cruise, when we get off in Darwin, we may have a little bit of time in there, depends on our flight. So I can't make any promises about that. But then we're going to fly back to Sydney with another night at the Four Seasons, and then a final transfer back to the airport for your flight home. And the reason is you can't really fly from this remote part of Australia to the United States in any meaningful way. And you really want to break up those 2 flights because it's quite a long flight just to Sydney.
That'll be a long journey. It's a good idea what we have going on here.
So the same thing, we go into more details. We got some videos there for you. The full itinerary pricing, which is all inclusive of the land and the cruise. And then so long as we meet the minimum number, Kelly and I will be hosting both of these as Outlander trips. So I hope you can join us. Let me stop sharing my screen here. And yeah, that's the 2 trips on the hot list. So
I love it.
they couldn't be more different from each other, right?
It's so true. It's so true. So, and I love the fact that we have such diverse trips, because it goes to show how much Seabourn does. And the Kimberley is not a very popular region yet. People are still learning about it. So we're really at the peak of the start of the buzz of the Kimberley. And typically you're not really thinking about that northeastern and eastern coast corridor for cruising. You're kind of thinking of like the Caribbean or the Mediterranean. So
Sure.
of course we have that, right? We go to over 460 ports all around the world. We hit all 7 continents. So the fact that we have those two that are completely diverse and different from each other is exciting. And of course, have all those major popular Great Caribbean and Med and Alaska there too. But having these on here is awesome. I'm really glad that we are featuring them, Mike.
Well, I think we've covered everything, haven't we, Eva?
Yeah, I think so.
So,
And we got Eva, right? So hey,
we got that. We've learned one thing.
my work here is done.
I have learned one thing. Anyway, for everybody watching, thanks for joining us. Our existing clients and Outlanders, we hope you'll join us too, but we love meeting new people as well. And so we look forward to seeing you on one of these 2 cruises with Seabourn. I personally can't wait. I can speak for Kelly. She's very excited about it too. Eva, thank you for your time today. Thanks for spending your afternoon with us. Much appreciated. Some great pictures, and I love your personal stories. That adds a really nice added touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you all, and I can't wait to have you on Seabourn.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye. Bye. Thank